Welcome back to Colbert on Golf. Thanks so much for joining us and being with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about coaching and mentors in the sport of golf. Even the greatest players obviously have swing coaches and such now. Jim's no exception to that. We'll get into his career in a moment and some of the people that have influenced him. But we had memorial services in Kansas City over the holiday weekend for Stan Thirsk, who died at the age of 87. A longtime pro here in the Kansas City area at Kansas City Country Club and mentor to Tom Watson, and he just touched an awful lot of people's lives in the Kansas City area, and I guess pretty much around the country. And you knew Stan pretty well too, Jim.
Yeah. I played a lot of golf with Stan. Even when I was an amateur before I turned pro, he was always a great help. As a matter of fact, the old Blue Hills course, we used to have a tournament where the amateurs played the pros, and I was playing Stan. And we had a pretty good little gallery out there. In the ninth hole at the old Blue Hills, I hit a 2-iron in the hole for a hole-in-one. and Stan got up and got ready to hit, and he stopped back and he says, "Oh, folks, I'm just trying to keep myself from choking. It's going to be a hard tie here." And then when I went out, when I started my pro career on the West Coast, Stan bought a brand-new car, and we rode out together. And he came over and picked me up at the house, throw the stuff in the trunk. And he had a brand-new Oldsmobile 88. And when he closed that trunk, it sounded like a piece of tin. I mean, this didn't have 50 miles on it, And I kidded him for 6 weeks every time we closed that trunk. I mean, it just sounded like a piece of tin. And he couldn't wait to call me when he got back to Kansas City. He took it in the dealers, and they forgot to put the insulation in the trunk, in the head of the trunk. So he had to listen to that for 6 weeks. And, Tom Watson, he's been Tom's mentor forever. And when we were playing at Pebble Beach there in the old Crosby, Tom came down, spent a few weeks with us. He was in college at Stanford. So he came down with Stan and came down, watched Stan, and hung out with us for a few days. So Stan was maybe the best club professional you could ever ask for because of not only what he did at the club or the membership, but junior golf, the PGA Association of America. He was just a good, fun, honest person to be around.
Well, I know that Jimmy Ballard is your swing coach. You spent a lot of time through the years with him, developing your game, and he's had a big impact there. Would you consider him a mentor or a coach, or did you have somebody that was most influential in your career?
As far as hitting the ball as a ball striker, it's definitely Jimmy Ballard. As a matter of fact, when I was in Vegas and then I was going to be in L.A. for 2 days, I got up at the crack of dawn and flew up to Seattle because Jimmy is up there redoing a bunch of videos and stuff and getting ready to do his own website. And he gave me a call, and I went up and spent the day with him. Actually took the two teachers that are teaching at my Orange County Golf School, but he changed the game. All the terminology you hear today, load up, get on top of it. I mean, nobody ever taught. Everybody said, stay under it, pull down with your left hand. I mean, it's crazy how he revolutionized the game. The most amazing story is Curtis Strange. Curtis noticed I started playing better, and so I'd go to the practice tee, and Curtis would say, come take a look. And finally I had to tell Curtis, I said, Curtis, I'm trying to make a living out here too. Why don't you go see Jimmy Ballard? Oh, I hear he teaches us sway. I said, Curtis, I just came from there last week. I said, all he did is show me pictures of you and Nicholas, how neither one of you right now are going to win again with the way you're swinging. But he's got all the pictures from you in college, when you were a kid. He's got all of Nicholas's pictures when he's good and when he's not. I said, don't even take your clubs. Just go down and look at the pictures. You'll get better. Well, Curtis finally went down. I think it was late summer, early fall. Curtis won, 3 tournaments in the next 5 months and became the best player in the world for 5 years. I don't know what happened there. When Curtis, he never won again after he never went back to Jimmy Ballard. He went to some of these other teachers. And he never won again anywhere. Never won on the regular tour, never won on the senior tour. And I've always liked Curtis. So I wrote on a piece of paper $1.5 million and a phone number. And I just tore it off and carried it in my pocket, in my billfold, actually, thinking, I'll give this to Curtis when the right time. And I was like 62 when Curtis came out. We got paired together at Valencia, first round, and his first senior event. And I'm out driving him by 10 yards, and I'm shooting 67, and I'm 62, and he's shooting 75. And he said, "How old are you?" I told him. But anyway, in March, that was in probably January or so. And then in March, we're down in Mexico. And it's March Madness, and we're watching the basketball games, and I got my grandson Jimmy with me. And we're sitting there having a drink and eating dinner every night at the hotel down in the basement where they had a sports bar. So finally, I pulled out this piece of paper, and I slid it over. And he says, "What's that?" I said, "What's it say?" And it says, $1.5 million and a phone number. And he said, "I'll bet that phone number's Jimmy Ballard." And I said, "It is." And that 1.5 is my thinking, and that'll be the least amount of money you'll win officially every year for the next 5 years. And he didn't call it.
Wow. Unbelievable. And Ballard has worked with some terrific players. I mean, his roster is sensational. And I was watching some videos and some of his teachings. You can see him online. JimmyBallardGolf.com is one place to go, and he's going to be doing more, as I understand it. But what I like about it is it's pretty simple, and he's teaching now. One of the big things he's teaching now is the posture and the proper setup, and you will not injure yourself if you just try to. What is connection? I mean, he's the pioneer of connection, is what they say with Jimmy Ballard, and yeah, I watch the way you address the ball, and everything that he was telling you do this. You kind of get your butt down a little bit, your back posture's just right, that right foot. You got to keep the toe a little bit in. You certainly don't want to flare it out. But tell me a little bit about why it's such a healthy way to play golf, and what is connection exactly?
Well, that's the first time I ever heard connection was in Pell City, Alabama, where Jimmy used to be. And by the way, try to get there sometime. In Pell City, Alabama. But connection is basically your left arm laying on your left breast, and it never moves. It sounds funny to our listeners here, but, when you hit a really, really good golf shot or a really good swing, your arms don't move. You got a triangle when you sit there, you have really good posture, and the left leg kicks into the right leg, and you torque the upper body into the right leg. But there's no real turn in golf. And that triangle just stays there. The club's always in the center of the body. And so we play with center. By the way, MIT and all the engineers have agreed with Jimmy. He's built this machine. He is correct in all the physical moves that take place. And the law that the golf swing is centrifugal force. Laws of physics relate to centrifugal force. I don't think anybody will understand it, but I can show you, Kevin. But to have centrifugal force, you have to have opposing forces. You have to have an outside force and an inside force. The left arm, left hand is the inside force, and the right side, the right hand is the outside force, and you can't reverse them. You have to have that tension to get the speed to hit the ball. But it's exactly the same as the quarterback throwing a pass, as a baseball batter batting, as anybody throwing or catching a ball, hitting the ball. I mean, in baseball or hockey, look at hockey. Those guys can hit golf balls.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the move. Because you don't see them flaring their arms. They're moving their body.
Right, and the first thing amateurs do when they start playing is they get their arms away from their body and they try to swing it like it's a baseball bat or something. If I took two head covers, if I put one under each arm and grabbed any club, I don't know, 7-iron driver, whatever, and just hit a ball, wouldn't they stay there? I mean, I've seen people try to do things like that. The head covers shouldn't fall, correct?
Especially the left arm. Some people put it under the right. But it's under the left arm. But it won't stay there unless you put that left arm in front of your body. So your left arm sits on your breast, and the back of the left hand sits right on the back of the ball. See, there's no angle there. You don't put that forward press. Right. You don't create an angle down there in the shaft. You want the shaft and the arm dead straight right up through your left hand. And so the left hand goes right on the back of the ball, which puts your arm in front of your body. Once it's in front of your body, it'll stay there. If you plug it in on the side, that's not a swing, and so it's going to leave. So the left arm is the key. Right arm can do the same thing, but a lot of times on the big follow-through, you might drop the one on the right.
Yeah.
but then the ball is long gone.
Yeah.
The left one never moves, and that's the opposing force. That's the centrifugal. That's the inside of the circle, and it has to stay constant. And so you could think of a little circle around the left hand, a little circle around the right hand. You want the left hand on the inside of that circle and stay there, and on the top side, you want the right hand on the outside of the circle to stay there. And it sounds confusing, but it's actually very easily done. The hard part with anybody is breaking their bad habits. But if you're serious about this, I mean, Jimmy's players. See, I was a player, so you don't want to confuse playing and ball striking. And there's a lot of players. I got in it with Brad Faxon down in Birmingham. We were talking about this, and he'd been to Jimmy, and he's talking about, well, when Nicholas was one of the greatest players in the world, as a young man, his arms flew up in the air, and I said, and then he showed me a picture of Watson when his arm was way up in the air, and he had this inverted C. And so he's laughing, see, well, there, Colbert, at the time they're winning golf tournaments. I said, I thought we were talking about ball striking. And he looked at me, I said, they're players. I'm a player, Brad. You're a player. We're not talking about it. We're talking about hitting the ball and finding it where you're trying to make it go. And I said, when they became ball strikers, nobody could touch them. And then he just kind of shut up.
Nice enough. All right, that's why we all love Colbert on Golf. We're due for another break. We're back with more right after this.
You're listening to Colbert on Golf, built by Midland Exteriors. Online at midlandexteriors.com. Midland Exteriors, we've thought of everything.